part of this forum. I'm just to say a few words about myself. I'm in politics for 20 years. I've been 3 times deputy minister, 2 times minister of finance and transport, member of the European Parliament in 2008, 2009, and 2 times member of the Romanian Parliament, and now I'm senator in Romanian Parliament. I think there are so many similarities in between what's going on here and what's going on in Eastern Europe. And we draw attention in Europe, and we talked about, for instance, Black Sea as Romanians for over 20 years. So we spoke about the security implications of leaving the Black Sea behind everywhere as Romanians. We've not been naive. But eventually, not much happened. And now, because of the war, we have to catch up to all the things that we haven't been doing for 20 years. And I've listened to Anna, and you were mentioning this naivety. We're naive towards a certain situation, we're naive to a certain other situation. I think we need to go even deeper. Where is this naivety coming from? And in order to draw a lesson, we need to go beyond. We need to understand deeper what exactly we call naivety and how we can get rid of it. Because if we want to be really proactive and really understand what are the, let's say, reasons behind the situation, we need to maybe be courageous enough to put the finger on the problem and see. Maybe we need another mindset in diplomacy. Maybe we need another mindset in economic deterrence. Maybe we need, we need a different kind of strategy. Maybe we need to look at our, let's say, at the strategy that we had during the Cold War, and those people behind that strategy that has been permanently adopted. But there was a strategy, and there were goals, and they were set, and people were following a certain line, and they've been successful. And in order to be successful, again, maybe it's very much important to understand even of the lessons we had there. And now, as Romanians, as being in the proximity of the other war, the Ukraine war, and helping Ukraine, helping in every way Ukraine, hosting 500,000 Ukrainians, which are very much adapted in Romanian, and assisting as logistically the war, we realize even more that things done at the right time may save a lot of energy, resources, and eventually lives. And maybe these are the kind of lessons that we should, as a personally and also as a forum and collectively put forward. And International Pan-European Union is also a very good organization because it's the first European organization, 101 years old, and it's the organization, it's the movement that eventually created Europe. And it's the kind of mindset that was strong enough to determine the creation of Europe after 2 world wars. And the kind of energy these people had at the time, it's preserved, and maybe it's also useful now. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Alexander. Let's open up for questions. We still have a bit of time, about 15, 20 minutes. So open up to the floor to any of our panelists. If you could introduce yourself and then ask.
Thank you. My name is Philip Numbel. I'm the managing editor of Global Voices, which is a Global South human rights and identity website. And I should say that I grew up in Uzbekistan and Ukraine before I start my question. But my question is precisely about quote-unquote good Russians, which is a very sort of complicated topic. And precisely as was alluded, also this sort of ongoing colonial and imperial thinking in a lot of the so-called Russian opposition that often denies the right to self-expression to non-ethnic Russians being part of Russia, but also does not understand that, for example, Russians living in Kyrgyzstan, where I lived for 5 years, or Uzbekistan, are very different and have different views on what it means to be ethnically Russian or also говорящие Russian speaking. So my question to all the panelists is, in your work, in events that you've been, where do you see opportunities for actually opposition Russians, both in a political and ethnic sense, having actually a real dialogue with representatives of indigenous people? You know, are there examples where actually, as opposed to Ms. Navalnaya, there is a real dialogue and a real listening and mutual respect that if we want to have democracy in Russia, we cannot ignore this colonial imperial views?
Excellent question. Thank you very much. Maybe we can start with Oliver because he's involved in these discussions probably more than anyone else.
Indeed, excellent question. It's one that I've been myself thinking a lot about, and right now my answer would be sharing your pessimism as it. I don't know of any such existing any sort of dialogue between these different, let's say, different types of opposition. Also among the so-called decolonial movement, I think there are some people who just have anything to do with Navalnaya or the kind of mainstream opposition. There is almost a feeling of not wanting to even talk to them, which may not be actually the smartest approach, because eventually it seems that all those forces may be shaping what happens with Russia after this regime. So maybe also on the decolonial movement side, there is a need for a bit more flexibility and a more diplomatic approach to reach out to these people, even if on a personal level you may not necessarily like them so much. On the other side, I see zero interest in reaching out. And I think this, from the kind of the mainstream opposition towards the decolonialists. In fact, Julia Navalnaya's recent speech in Slovenia basically shut the door. She had the speech itself was very short. She didn't say much there, but she spent a good share of that speech to criticize the decolonial movement and, as she called, these decolonists. This is not a way how to start a dialogue.
If I could jump in, I'll turn to you in a second. But to be absolutely fair, there are some Russians one could work with. For instance, Ilya Ponomarev in the Congress of People's Deputies, who's been participating with us. Again, we've had very good debates about how they see the future of Russian Federation, and if any of the nations and republics and regions want to leave. But at least they're engaging in those debates, and they're open to the idea of independence potentially for North Caucasus, Middle Volga, and other republics that want to leave. They want to reestablish independence. So to be absolutely fair, there are a few Russians in opposition who are opposed to Navalnaya, who are opposed to the Khodorkovsky position, and who one can debate with. It's a pity Ilya isn't here. He would be able to provide much more.
He will be in Brussels.
He will be in future events. So, watch this space. He should be in Kursk, actually, establishing an independent Russian government, but that's something else. Anna, please.
Thank you. Actually, you took my topic because I wanted to speak about Ilya Ponomarev. I am in close contact with him for quite a long time already. I would like to remind that he was the only Russian deputy to State Duma who voted against annexation of Crimea. And then he migrated together with whole family that were quite prominent as well. But allow me to call two instances of my experience in the European Parliament. First was Foreign Affairs Committee meeting shortly after freeing of Khodorkovsky, and it was my question actually about his views on Crimea at that time, and he was very evasive, and actually it was a bucket of cold water to my perception of the situation. And second instance was during COVID, also meeting of Foreign Affairs Committee, rather a remote. I was speaking from Gdańsk, and it was limited space before the recent elections in parliamentary elections in Russia. All of us already knew preparations actually for war economy, at least, or tightening administration under communism. It was showing possibilities to the major offensive at that time. All opposition leaders of Russia, that variety of groupings, they are really well known names, but that included Navalny as well. And my question was, is Russia in major effort in elections support? The only one I wanted during election necessity to get rid of external imperial policy that were asked in the European Parliament. Nobody took this to meet me remotely and listen to my voice. Some of them were well known to me. When the European Parliament granted Navalny the Sakharov Prize, Daria Navalna was there later on. There were numerous speeches by Yulia Navalna, and in particular, advisors and high-ranking advisors were very questionable to me. So, to tell the truth, from my experience, actually, also with certain, I would say, question marks, but obviously Ilya Navalny is the best person to speak. But I did Ponomaryov, sorry, but I did not see, except of this grouping gathering in Poland usually, because they meet in Poland. There's variety of elected Russians, of variety of government level who are outside of Russia nowadays and try to work on future Russia, also including decolonization. So eventuality of new constitution, rupture of Russian Federation, don't be afraid, of course, and eventuality of voluntary signing of new federal agreement with those. This, that's all.
And there's a very big difference. That's why Western society, they listening and definition, they understand even definition differently. And that's the biggest problem, how to communicate with people who think one, act second, and talk third. And this is some confusion, and you don't even understand. So for me, it's more easy and a little bit closer to Ponomaryov. off. I don't believe in the one at all, because I don't believe those people who also then other people are representing those. So I am indirectly know all of them. And I want to introduce myself to them, involved a little bit to listen what they're not talking on about.
In younger days, there used to be something called the Circumpolar Initiative, which I think involved some representatives of Komi and Chukchi and some of the people from the Russian Federation in the old days. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think there was at least a period after the collapse of the Soviet Union that some representatives were involved. Where does this initiative stand?
Referring to
Where does this initiative stand?
referring to ICC, the Inuit circumposition of Inuits of the world. So there are organizations from Canada, US, Greenland, and historically, indeed, Russian Inuits have, from Chukota have indigenous, let's say that